Let's see. Let's see. Are we live? Oh, goodness. Okay, this has changed since the last time I streamed, so that's interesting. Also says there's clips on Rumble now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. Let's see. Getting everything set up. I'm a little late today, but I guess that's what I get, missing like 5 days. But hopefully we'll get caught up today, and then we'll be on, I guess, on schedule for the next couple of days. And to, I don't know, next week, I don't know, I don't think it'll take that long to be caught, or to get caught up. But it took me a long time today to get caught up. And we're gonna kind of push through everything, or at least try and push through everything we missed since, I guess, Thursday. And from there, we'll be back on schedule. We'll be on the daily stuff. But there's a lot of important things that, I guess, happened over the last 5 days. I'm doing a lot behind the camera, not much in front of it, so this feels a little different. Feels a little different. And I'll tell y'all about that right when we get into it. I guess there's no better time to start than now. Today is Monday, January 26th, 2026. This is episode number 42 of Addressing the Issues. So I guess most of you realized that I wasn't here Thursday or Friday. Also wasn't here Saturday. I was doing some camera work for a racing production. That was fun. Had to, get some bills paid, make some money. That was a lot of fun. It's a good experience, great people, great time. A lot I learned. And I feel like I, brought a lot to the table with that group, so you might be working with them again in the future. I don't know how that's going to shape up, but it could happen, so I'll keep that on my list of things that I may be doing into the future. I guess along with the Ryan Ruth trial sentencing coming up, I think I'll go do that as well. I went to the entire, I guess not the entire, but the majority of the trial, which was interesting. But yeah, sorry I was not around over Thursday, Friday, the weekend. But, I think this would be a good time to ask you guys to go ahead and like, share, clip things, subscribe to the YouTube, follow on Rumble. If you'd like to donate, then make sure I don't have to go back out and record car racing. That'd help me out a lot. You can super chat, and if somebody does want to be a sponsor, that'd be great as well. I'd really appreciate that. But we'll get started on today, or I guess going back to Thursday morning. Border Patrol agents shot and killed an armed protester during an altercation and short struggle on the ground. I'm sure everybody's already seen this by now. During the struggle, officers yelled "gun" as the provocateur was seen to be carrying a weapon. As an agent ran away with the provocateur's SIG P320, the gun seemingly misfired, leaving officers to believe that the suspect was shooting when they fired upon him. This is why it is probably not the best idea to carry weapons while antagonizing federal law enforcement, especially a faulty gun such as a SIG P320, which was not submitted to SIG's P320 voluntary upgrade program that addressed the firearm's defects that would allow it to misfire when dropped, bumped, squeezed, or while experiencing certain vibrations. There's a video on the internet with the SIG P320 that an owner of the gun makes it misfire 5 times in a row just by touching the slide. You can see how this could be an issue, especially when in a dangerous circumstance like this individual got himself into. But I don't know why you would ever bring this gun into public. Nevertheless, bring it to start a fight with federal agents. It doesn't seem smart at all. It doesn't seem like a good idea, especially given that a slight bump, touching it the wrong way, can cause a misfire. It's probably not the best idea whatsoever. It's something nobody wants to talk about in this incident. I guess we can call it that, an incident. I think that's what we'll stick with. Something that nobody wants to talk about is how many times Purdy could have avoided this situation on this day, on Thursday, assuming that, he was a normal person. I don't know that it's fair to assume that, given his actions, but let's just assume he's a normal person anyway. So he wakes up Thursday morning and decided that he would go protest ICE. He likely goes to brush his teeth, take a shower, likely thinking about what he was going to do at the protests, and never decides that this is a bad idea. He doesn't think, he could be spending his day doing something better, more productive. He probably eats his breakfast and is still thinking about going to these protests. He doesn't decide that using his breakfast as fuel for the day, that he would be better served by going to a gym to work out, going for a walk in the park. He decides that his best interest is to go and harass law enforcement. Now let's assume that he may have had a few chores. At the house, he didn't decide that it was a good day to do dishes. He didn't decide it was a good day to do laundry, clean the kitchen, clean the bathroom. He had decided that, once again, it was in his best interest to go obstruct law enforcement. He didn't think, maybe I'll just talk to my mom or dad on the phone today. Maybe I'll FaceTime a friend. He wanted to go demonstrate. And he likely grabs his coat and secures his defected gun and extra magazine to his person. Oh, was it Saturday? Sorry, all my days are confused at this point. It was Saturday. You are absolutely correct. I'm sorry. It was Saturday, guys. But he secures his P320 to his person, puts on his coat, and decides that he's going to go demonstrate. He grabs an extra magazine, attaches that to his person as well, meaning he has 2 magazines and a P320 to go demonstrate. he doesn't decide it would be a great day to submit his SIG P320 to SIG's voluntary upgrade program to ensure it's safe because he has the day off. He decides he would rather go harass federal agents with it. Assuming the protests were not directly in front of his front door, he had to commute there, likely either walking or driving for his commute. He never thinks, I'm going to turn around and go home. This is a bad idea. I'd be better served going to a library to read a book and learn something. Maybe even, catch up on a Netflix show because he was working when the last episode was released. He doesn't think of any of this. He would eventually arrive and see federal agents doing their job. He could sit there and yell at them or even blow one of his whistles. He could hold up a sign. He could record them from a distance. He instead decides he would rather walk up to them and get in their face with the camera with a gun on his person and block traffic. This is what he has decided to do. He doesn't think this is a bad idea and continues by assaulting a federal agent who is trying to detain someone else. He doesn't think that grabbing the woman who is being detained by her face and neck was a bad idea, so he does it. He doesn't think he's gone too far yet, as multiple agents come over to detain him. He thinks that he should continue to fight back and not listen to their commands. He doesn't think to attempt to de-escalate the situation, knowing that he has a gun and a secondary mag on his person. He doesn't think to work with the officers to have it removed safely. And now he's figured out the real-life consequences for his actions throughout the day that day, Saturday. I've been corrected. You don't bring 2 magazines for self-defense. I think anybody who's ever used a gun knows that. You bring 2 magazines if you're planning on getting in a shootout. Normally 1 would suffice if you think that you might have a incident that you would need to discharge a weapon for self-defense. Typically, if it's in that situation, you don't have time to reload and get out another. You likely are doing that because you were planning on starting an altercation and planning on being the aggressor. Let's think about, for a minute, what he went out there to protest. He was protesting immigration enforcement as part of the exact same population that advocates for a welfare state. You can have either an immigration state or a welfare state. You can have either, but you can't have both. And here lies the problem. You can argue America was founded by immigrants, and you would be correct. However, there was no state welfare. The welfare at the time was the church. And these same people have demonized the church and expect to have the state step in where the church was historically in charge of welfare. So now you have a state that is supposed to allow in immigrants, yet is also supposed to put them on welfare because they refuse to assimilate, refuse to have a normal job, refuse to adapt to the culture. And now you have communities like Minneapolis. You have a population of immigrants that suck all the money out through welfare, like child daycare centers, autism centers, that refuse to follow the norms of U.S. society. And for some reason, a group of people that, in fact, champion this behavior. This isn't a sustainable practice for any nation. 100-something years ago, the people who arrived on Ellis Island, they didn't go on welfare. They arrived in many cases with the clothes on their back and a desire to make their lives better. but they didn't go on welfare. They worked in the system in which they integrated and assimilated into U.S. culture. They came here to work towards a better life, towards the American dream. They didn't come here to defraud the U.S. taxpayers of money. And that's the difference between what used to be immigration then and what is immigration today. Immigrants did used to come and assimilate and attempt to be productive members of society. Then during the Biden administration, they allowed the country to be flooded with illegal immigrants and provided them resources to be leeches on society by using welfare services. This doesn't create a productive society, no matter how you look at it. This creates a society with two very similar in status classes. You'll have a working class and a welfare class, but they end up with the same result, which is a decline in the quality of life for both. You have people who work hard and have it taken away from them, and you have people who don't work, which live the same quality of life as the people who do work. And it doesn't make sense. You simply cannot have a immigration state and a welfare state. The two are antithetical to one another. You can have a society which allows immigration, but you also cannot allow them to go on welfare once they get there. They have to be productive like everybody else. You can look back to the beginning of the United States. Imagine what it took at the beginning. They showed up, it was woods and dirt. The town hall wasn't magically there. The courthouse wasn't spawned in with a fancy spell. The post office wasn't just appeared by a wizard. It was created with hard work by immigrants who started with trees, dirt, and the clothes on their back. And this seems to be something that we've forgot, particularly my generation and recent generations. If the people who sailed across the ocean came here and got a monthly check to run a fake business, nothing would have ever been built. We would have nothing, and this country would literally have as much in the same social structure as Western Sahara. And in the modern era, people don't understand this. They don't understand that people have actually had to work to build the society in which they live in. The Empire State Building didn't build itself. Like I said, the state buildings, your city buildings, didn't spawn themselves in. They were built with hard work and labor by people that came way before you. They wouldn't expect you to be tearing it all down. Yet, this is what the leftists are fighting for, because not only do they hate America, they hate themselves. They hate America because it's not the illusionary socialist utopia that they have been led to believe exists through universities, through the schools. They hate themselves because their forefathers figured out how to make the freest, greatest nation in the history of the earth. And because they didn't do it themselves, they want it torn down. And they feel some duty to let the world come in and destroy it, so it will fall back to the same level as the rest of the world, where people don't have clean water, where people sleep in huts. They let their own self-pity and lack of self-respect overwhelm them to the point that they want everybody and everything to be broken to the point at which they are. It's not altruistic, these actions. They're sadistic. They're sadistic by nature. They hate themselves, so they want you to hate yourself and everything that is your culture as well. This is the playbook of socialists. They want you to tear down what is good and exciting and replace it with evil and monotony. And this is exactly what is transpiring in Minneapolis. These are not people that love America. They aren't people that just want to see America do the right thing. These people hate themselves. They want to see America destroyed. And they're taking money from like-minded people from around the world to do just that. And the real sad reality in this whole situation is they don't care if they die, because they're dead inside already. They aren't martyrs, as they claim that they are. It's a self-elimination cult. And they want to force everybody to join. They don't love themselves. They don't love America. They just want to ensure that you feel the same way they do, no matter what the cost, what the price is. It's a really sad situation of what's going on. These people have so much anger in themselves that they don't want to see anybody else succeed. Last night, a riot took place in a hotel lobby that ICE and other agents were reportedly staying at in Minneapolis. These rioters vandalized and destroyed the lobby of the Home 2 Suites by Hilton. And federal agents were left to restore order at the site. This is what, local police are for. Yet they refuse to enforce the law in their jurisdiction in Minneapolis. I guess in Portland as well. But this is the same pattern from the Minneapolis police that we've seen since the church insurrection. And then again, when Nick Sordor's camera was stolen. They don't uphold law and order. I don't know what they do. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not sure what they do. They seem to be self-righteous, yet they refuse to do the one duty of their job, which is to maintain law and order in their city. That's the one thing they don't do. I guess it's the National Guard, will supply jelly donuts and drinks for people that are rioting there. But the one thing that is not done by any of these groups, except for currently federal officers, is maintaining law and order in the city of Minneapolis, which is rather scary and sad. The fact that either they choose not to do their duty or restricted from doing it is obviously a major issue for the people that live there. It's a failure of the leadership. I think that's what it mainly boils down to, is it is the failure of leadership in Minneapolis is why you're seeing this socialist insurrection taking place. Today, it was announced that President Trump will be sending border czar Tom Homan into Minneapolis. Remember, the border czar was created during the Biden administration. Now it is Tom Homan that is leading that position. And hopefully Tom Homan can get everyone in the action, especially all the federal officers. I'd say that this is the time to double down. This is the time to assert that there will be law and order in America, whether the deranged leftists like it or not. This isn't a time to back away and say you won. This is a time to ensure that our laws are being followed and enforced, whether people are happy with it or not. That's just what needs to happen. Whether that will happen or not is completely up in the air. I believe that it likely is that Tom Homan was called in to be a stern authority figure, a leader in this situation. I think that's why he was called in. He was selected to go to Minneapolis. But he'll be there soon, and we'll see how that plays out. I hope it plays out better than it's been going. I hate to see destruction to my cities, destruction to people's private property. We do need law and order. We need people going back to work, real jobs, not paid protesters. That's not a real job. But I do hope Tom Homan can get in there and get stuff going back in the right direction. So for another story, I'm just going to keep this one brief, just to get us caught back up to current day. The World Economic Forum wrapped up, I believe it was Friday. There was a shift in the rhetoric from the carbon tax, the net zero, that has been pushed upon us over the last couple of years, to artificial intelligence. Quite the exact opposite of net zero. Quite the exact opposite of carbon tax. I guess they can carbon tax you for your AI use. But you gotta wonder how the World Economic Forum shifted from all these green ideas, eating bugs, windmills, solar power, to advocating for artificial intelligence, possibly probably the most energy consuming thing that we do as humans. So how did we get this shift from eating the bugs and using windmills, getting rid of nuclear power, to we're going to promote artificial intelligence? And the only reasonable explanation I can see for this is control. It's about controlling populations. They could control you before, lower your food intake, you have less energy to go out and do things, lower your regular energy. You can't charge your car, you can't charge your phone, you can't watch TV, you can't gain access to information. But now it's shifted to artificial intelligence. Well, how are they going to control you through artificial intelligence? Well, it's easy. They'll just select what knowledge you're allowed to receive from it. They'll use it also to censor information on the internet. And they'll use it to create thought paths, I guess is a way that you can say it. Large language models used to determine where somebody's going and what information they should be subjected to afterwards. You can see one thing and it leads you to a more and more radical position, but they can also use this information to steer you back through your social media algorithms, what access to things you have on the internet. You don't see the whole internet. You see normally probably the first 1 or 2 pages of Google when you make a Google search. But now with artificial intelligence, you just go on ChatGPT, you type in what your question is, and it'll give you an answer. Sometimes it's a hallucination, but typically it's a pretty solid answer. The issue is this is easily used to manipulate what you see. They know exactly what you're looking for. They know your habits. They'll know what times you wake up, when you're on your phone, when you're not. And they can use this to manipulate you. They can use this to manufacture consent for things that typically you would be completely adverse to, but through regulation of information, through artificial intelligence, they'll be able to control you. And I think that's what it's all about. I think that's always what the World Economic Forum's been all about. It's been about controlling how you have access to money. And now it'll be controlling how you have access to information. And I think, obviously, that the green energy stuff will make a comeback just to ensure that they have control over what we're doing as well. I don't think it's a good group of people that go over there. I hope with what Donald Trump did, it was effective in quelling them for at least the next couple of years. But I think the next president, it'll be right back. We'll be back under the green energy thing, and the artificial intelligence will be fully developed. And they'll be able to control us through our wallets, control us through what information we have, and control us through access to things that we own. But that's basically what I got from looking through the World Economic Forum this year. If you got anything else, feel free to, send a chat. Let me know what you got out of it. But that's what I get out of it. It seems like it's less about ensuring the survival of humanity through sustainable practices and more like controlling humanity through information, through economics, through access to goods, access to services. It's a really scary thing to think. A lot of people say, oh, that's really out there. But look at the patterns. Look at what they seek. They seek power. They seek control. So why would they not attempt to control populations, is my question. But I'll move on. That's basically what I got out of the World Economic Forum, like I said. So, Winter Storm Fern seems to be wrapping up today. That was quite the storm, I've heard. Lots of people got a lot of snow. 800,000 people were left without power as of this morning. It's down to a little under 700,000 currently, with over a foot of snow in 20 different states. The largest snowfall was actually in New Mexico, 31 inches in New Mexico. Kind of surprising there. I thought it would be a little worse on the East Coast. Turns out it was the worst in New Mexico. But there's still snow falling in New England area. So, maybe they could beat out New Mexico by the end of the day. I doubt it. They're quite a bit behind last time I checked. So it does seem like 31 inches was the maximum total from Winter Storm Fern. And if you didn't get the snow you expected and overstocked because of me, surprise, it was just a ploy to stimulate the economy. I work for the government. I'm kidding. But it was better to obviously be prepared, be safe, than be starving, be cold, be miserable. I want all you guys to be happy and healthy. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was a good idea. Just make sure you cook all those extra eggs and bread and milk. Make sure you use all your milk. But it was, I think, a wise idea to at least be prepared in case the worst case scenario. And I hope everybody that watched was prepared. Everybody that watches me was prepared. I hope you guys stayed safe. Hope nobody was out wrecking their car, straining emergency services, all that fun stuff. I hope you just had fun hanging out with your family, maybe doing some sledding, maybe staying inside, building Legos, playing board games, whatever it was. I hope everybody was safe. So we're going to have an Olympics special coming up soon. I'm going to do a little overview of the Olympics in the next few days. Probably be late this week, early next week. These are the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. They start February 6th. But I'm excited. I want to see the U.S. take home the most medals, the most gold medals, all the medals. I want them all. But now I'm excited. I'm sure other people are, so I'm going to do a little Olympic special. We'll talk about new events, what's been ditched, what's being brought on, particularly hockey. I'm excited for that. And who's invited, who's not. And a little bit of my opinion on the contentiousness of invites to the Olympics. I think it's kind of funny, honestly. But we'll have that coming up in the next week or so, either at the end of this week, start of next week. So stay tuned if you want to see that. Should be a fun episode. It'll be a little bit longer like the specials typically are. Yeah, that's really all we have for today. I'm going to read through some chats, respond to them, and we'll sign off. Immigrants built the buildings. Immigrants continue to work difficult and dangerous jobs to build the buildings today. I would absolutely agree. Immigrants are some of the hardest labor workers that we have in society. It's absurd how they have been attempted to be replaced by new illegal immigrants that work for less money, undercut their wages because they don't pay taxes. World Economic Forum is always the same. A bunch of ridiculously rich, conceited people blowing smoke up each other's behinds, as we'll say. I'm going to have to censor that chat. No, I'm kidding. Yes, these people are ridiculous. They aren't connected to reality, aren't connected to humanity at all. They're very out there. They refuse to answer questions as to why they perform the actions that they do. I saw a couple of clips of people such as, oh, what's his face? Oh, I despise him. I think it's the co-president currently. I can't remember his name. But for 2 years straight, he has been asked questions during his walk from, I guess, his hotel to where they hold this forum. He refuses to answer a single question. I don't know if it's that he's mute. Larry Fink. I think he may be mute unless he's in front of a microphone, because he cannot answer questions from journalists as to why he does the actions he does. I think it's because he's a sleazy person. I think he's a little bit evil, Larry Fink. But I'll probably make sure I never have a real job. Honestly, and it's a lot too much. Has way too much of a say in what goes on. I guess that's why he wants us to eat the bugs. That's why he wants us to have a social credit score. That's why he wants to be in control of our money. It's because he's not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. The weather is still really bad. None of the snow is melting, and the temperatures are dangerously cold in Kentucky. Well, we got a Kentucky viewer. Weather's fine here. It's like, what, 80-something? It's fine. Just go outside. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. None of the snow is melting. Temperatures are cold. I think, what are the temperatures still up in, like, around single digits in a lot of places? Single digits or less. Yeah, snow's not going to melt. I don't even think you can salt it at that temperature. So it's going to be frozen over for probably a couple of days. probably need, at least one day of it being over freezing. And that seems, from what teens, still cold. I still don't even know if the salt will work. But it seems to be that way across a lot of America right now. Not here. We deferred winter. Said we're not doing it this year. We don't accept the cold. Wish we could do the same with people from New York City. Say we don't accept you nor the cold. Don't come to Florida. Mississippi State is canceled all week. I did hear they had horrible ice totals in the ice line of the storm. Up to, I believe I saw like 2.5, 3 inches in some places of ice totals. Completely crazy. And snow totals, like I said, 31 inches? Yeah, that's just not something you want to deal with at all. I think we're going to wrap up here. I think we're caught up on the main stories since Thursday. I probably missed something crazy that I should have talked about today. But I was also late. I was busy working on these things, getting facts wrong, of course. But I'll try and do better on that. I did correct myself, so I think that's all right. This weekend was an absolute whirlwind. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work, a lot of late nights. I normally got back around 1 in the morning, left at 1 in the afternoon, got back at 1 in the morning, and about 3 hours of road time a day. So it was an absolute whirlwind this weekend, but I had a lot of fun, got a lot of good experience, met a lot of cool people. And Chad, that's all we have for today. So I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys, go ahead and drop a like on Rumble, drop a like on YouTube, subscribe on Rumble, or subscribe on YouTube, follow on Rumble. If you'd like to subscribe on Rumble, you can do that 1 month, or you can do it as a continuous subscription. That will give you a subscription every month for, I believe, just $5. You can obviously donate to the Rumble account. That'll make sure that I have to do less of these odd jobs like racetrack videographer. Or you can, super chat during a regular broadcast, and I'll focus on that for a few minutes at the end. I'll do a little think piece on it on the spot if you'd like that. A little bit more in-depth than just typical chat responses. I hope you guys are liking this new format that I had plenty of time to think about on the road this weekend. What else? Yeah, comment if you like it at the end of the broadcast. If not, tell me you don't. Tell me you want me to do it a little bit differently, and I'll figure out how to do that for you guys. But yeah, make sure you're liking. Also, if you'd like to clip things, there's now a clipping function on Rumble. I just discovered that while I was setting up today, actually. So we'll probably have some Rumble clips too. YouTube clips, Rumble clips. And go ahead and clip things if you think I'm saying something interesting, saying something important, saying something funny. I'm not funny, but if you think it is, I'll trust you on it. I think that's about all. Let me go back through this stuff. Jeff, if you do want to sponsor the show and make sure that I don't have to do a whole bunch of more odd jobs, I'm more than willing to do, live ad reads, show a video for you, things like that. I have to kind of approve of your product. I'm not a snake oil salesman, so I like to keep it respectable around here. So keep that in mind if you do reach out to me for a sponsorship. But I would appreciate it. I'll do live ad reads, show videos, stuff like that. Especially if I'm given permission to show videos. That's the main reason I don't as of right now, is getting a permission from some of these people who pay money for these videos is kind of hard. And I don't really have the resources currently to pay for access to these things. I'm working 2 jobs, doing a podcast and race car track videographer. But that's that's where we're at right now. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, and like always, your viewership is the most important thing to me. So thanks for sticking around till the end, guys. So all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you get home safe as well and finish up your workday strong. We've got I'll be back tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern time. I should be here all week this week, so unless I get another cool opportunity, I guess. But plan on me being back tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern time. That'll be a Tuesday, and I guess through the rest of the week. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.